What's going on? Yeah, it's a little bit colder out. The sun's not fully out either. So I want to talk about my no-fap mistake and how I messed up. Which one of my previous videos, which is probably like over a month ago, and I said I was going to do this, and I've done it before, but it wasn't like a complete recognition, because there's periods of time in my life where I just didn't think about sex or masturbation. But I wasn't also consciously, my attention wasn't there, but I wasn't consciously thinking about it either. So pretty much the same thing. And so I messed up, and I was like 2 weeks in, I think, because somebody said something to me like, oh, no fap. Somebody said it's like not a big deal, and it's not real, it's not true, which is what he gathered from his experience, I'm hoping. So it kind of got in my head, and then I was putting attention to it, and it just made me mess up. And I was like 2 weeks in, but now I think I'm like another like 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, and I'm back at it. So I did mess up. Whether you're following that video or not, I'm here in it for the long run now, because I don't feel I need to do it. And if some woman comes, that's going to be a different story. But when it comes, and I said this in my last video, when it comes to masturbation, sexual pleasure, dopamine, it's just not worth it. And I don't think it's needed. And that's just my personal preference. And I plan on doing it until I have sex, basically. Or until I want to have sex, that is. And I'm probably going to be doing it for a long time, so stay tuned for that. And I think that's something to differentiate is between, how you feel about it, recognizing just the whole experience and what's going on with it, how it makes you feel. Do you feel depressed after, or do you feel strength and vitality, like a lot of people say, when you don't do it? And I do think there's a boundary between masturbation and no fapping, or no sex with other females. And I think the biggest concern here is where you're focusing and putting your attention, because I think that's like key in the whole thing, because it's really just a mental game. A lot of it is. And that's exactly it. Because I haven't really thought about it at all. It's only when you put attention to it that it really affects you. Then you kind of go crazy because you think about it and you can't get it off your mind. So it's where you're focusing. It's the stimulation. If you're seeing a bunch of girls half naked on Instagram or all over the internet, magazines, and you're letting it get to you, well, yeah, then that's going to be a problem. So it's the stimulation, really. Now we can look at the other side. What happens when you're just aroused and you want to keep rolling on the journey, and like you got to the point where like now your attention's on it and this is what your focus is on. And I would say, which I know it's hard, is to distract yourself, because usually if you could focus off your attention, it only lasts for like 5 minutes. If you do get hard, aroused, stimulated, it only lasts and then it just goes away. and you should take note of this too. And it's not very long, and it's easy to do, really. But if you keep putting attention to it, yeah, then obviously, because energy goes where you put your attention to. So if you keep putting it in that direction, thinking about it, then it's gonna happen. And that's how I messed up. And that's how I've pretty much always messed up. I put my attention there, focus, and I thought about it, or something stimulated me. And I just, whether it's for the benefits or not, I don't feel I need to do it. I could go into reasons why, but I'm like 2 weeks in and I really haven't had any problems at all. In fact, I have other problems that's way bigger than that. Yeah, so, and a lot of people claim about celibacy and not having sex at all, and there's a bunch of so-called recorded events of people not doing it, and the so-called benefits. And whether they're true or not, I mean, obviously people are saying this for a reason, but at the same time, a lot of these people, could be fibbing. So being honest is key, but that goes with like anything. Sorry, there's a lot of noise. And I don't think it's the end of the world. But again, this is more of like a self-control thing than it is anything else, really. And once you gain that control, and some people might need this, some people might need discipline and control in their lives, and that's why it really benefits them. And you might be one of those people. And it depends on what aspects in your life that need controlled, per se. And I can't really say, now, I'm doing this and it's benefiting me, but not in the way everyone talks about necessarily, or maybe that you heard. In everything in life where you put your focus to and energy is vulnerable and could count, Every step does matter. And this is more of a bigger picture about control. And I know a lot of people don't, because a lot of people don't know what it feels like to have control. And I'm doing this for me, not for someone else. And that's the way everyone should do it, until they have control and know what they're doing, talking about. A lot of people just blabber on and follow trends. Ow, my hands are freaking, no, it's not that cold out, but my hands freaking freezing. And as I was saying, the control, some people really could benefit from this. I was never one to do a lot of stuff in one day like other people. As in masturbation or watching porn or porn addiction. I never did it like that, you know what I mean? And yeah, there's some people who definitely can benefit from this. And, I just don't feel like that's, everything matters and it counts. I don't feel like it's a big escalation, as you could say, in my life. But at the same time, I'll make it to be one, if that makes sense. I won't waste my energy on that. And I do think there is a life force. Well, it is a life force between And there's people who say if you don't freaking have sex or let go one, female or male, after so long, you know, you become sterile or can't get hard anymore, or ejaculate, whatever it is, come. I don't really know if there's anything behind that either. But, you know, you got to do it for yourself. And like I said, sex, or as I was saying, sex is a life force. So, is subtle energy, but also, you know, with whether male or female, you're creating a baby. And, you know, the woman can't create the baby. The man actually holds the power to do that. And he's the one ultimately that lets it go. And this is like a lot of life force in you, you know. It does take up vitamins, minerals, but most of all, it takes up energy. And you might feel the energy loss, especially if you're doing it way too much. And you might feel other feelings such as anxiety, depression, loss of confidence, and vitality. And there's just other things among that nature, a whole expression of feelings. So this is a life force, and some people don't know how to contain it and control it, and don't realize how, wow, it's kind of warmer up here. A lot of, you know, the expression of this. Because it's just kind of a self-awareness thing and consciousness of your energies and your emotions, mental feelings, and, you know, energy around you in the physical body. And these things really home to you. They tune in. You know, some people could lose a bunch of energy and have so much energy they don't even notice. They could expend a lot of energy and not be exhausted or tired. Someone else, depending on their health and what's going on with their life and their energy, could express a little bit of energy and then be completely exhausted in whatever format that is. Your mind uses energy for thoughts. It's powering itself. You're giving out thoughts, if you are, and then you know, physical energy. You know, your whole body's using energy all the time, and we get energy from different things. And if you're expending this energy just for a dopamine fix all the time, it may not be good for you. This may be someone who needs some self-control, some discipline, and they'll feel better about it. You know, I don't know too many people that in my life that are sex addicts or, you know, porn watchers excessively. A lot of people keep that low radar, I guess. And that's another thing about culture is, especially in the West, they put a lot of emphasis on sex and culture, which could elude you to doing this more. But also, like, you know, we're always it kind of sounds backwards, but we're always covering up, like, especially with clothes. Of course, there's certain times, like in the winter and stuff like that, certain seasons where you do want to put on clothes, but we're not allowed, you know, people aren't allowed to be naked or even show any physical feature. At the end of the day, you know, I understand some people are, I don't know how to put this, but I don't want to say lower consciousness, but, you know, if you see somebody clothed all the time, if you ever look at any biblical pictures, ancient pictures, they don't really have on clothes, you know. And you can even search, like, for people who live in the Americas, Native Indians, you know. Of course, the ones up in the northern hemisphere, they're always going to be, you know, more clothed. But during certain seasons, they don't bear any clothes. And, you know, sex is like a primal thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's like a natural instinct. And some people, you do become addicted to it and excessive. And I was at one point. Just like the thought of it, just the mere thought of it. And there's other reasons behind that though, and everyone's gonna have different reasoning. But just imagine, you know, if you always saw women naked, and it's an experience, so you can't imagine, but just take it into the topic. If you always seen women naked, then you wouldn't be aroused by it, by people posting pictures of that, and it would just be a normal thing. And it is a normal thing. Like I said, you can look at all the ancient pictures and just even biblical, I'm sure you've seen them, religious ones. They're always naked in the photos, like all the time. The only thing that's even covered up sometimes is the male's genitals. But if you've seen a woman that was, you know, her breasts were always showing all the time, then breasts wouldn't be a thing to you. I mean, they wouldn't arouse you. Not saying that's a bad or good thing, and not saying they will arouse you, but you know, there's cultures who are, you know, stuff that we don't know about, tribes and villages where they're naked a lot of the time. They show their breasts all the time. And you know, it's just a physical feature. A lot of people are stuck on this primal physical feature thing. And yes, it does play a role in it, but you know, we clothe all the humans all the time and dress them in fancy outfits and costumes, and it kind of exuberates things. So when people do see someone naked, they're like, wow. You can just see what I'm talking about. It's just like, wow, you know, even whether you get aroused or not, you know, it's just like a phenomenon because you never see it. Same thing with, you could see a squirrel every day. Squirrel, maybe a deer, a fox, but you know, someone who never sees foxes and deers are going to be amazed of it. Whereas if you see these animals all the time, you know, you go see complete different spectrums such as lizards or reptiles, maybe even bats. When you see different things, your mind, you know, of course they're going to be attracted to it in an exotic, and there's going to be some arousal that's not sexual. And you can see like where this is going. And I do think, you know, especially in the industry and the economy, capitalism, they play a lot of emphasis on sex. Just overall. Some people just do it for money. Some people do it because they like it. And there's nothing wrong with each one. It all depends on what your meaning is behind it. But I also feel like, you know, this is again, like a mental stimulation. And that's what it is at the end of the day. It's a mental game. And again, being in self-control, you control your body, you have all the power. You have everything inside of you. You can manifest it into the reality. This is that energy. You have it all. You were born with it all. You have the male and feminine inside of you. And if you're a male and you have feminism into you, it's about bringing a balance, yin and yang, sun and moon, and equality to it. A lot of people want to override, and girls are naturally going to be more feminine. But that's just a generalization, and men obviously going to have more testosterone, but that's not always the case, and you can definitely see that now. It's pretty much the whole opposite. And these different sexes and everything, like I said, we have both built into us naturally. We are one, we are whole. This was the great divide or separation between a male and female. This was the duality, but we are both one together. That's why you're complete by yourself. If you needed a female or the opposite sex, female, male, you would be born attached to them or some crazy thing like that. It's not necessarily needed. Only ultimately family aspects, caring relations, and the procreate, which is the main goal, the whole life force behind it. Your seed, your cum, female or male, you know, this is designed to make a whole nother being, live a whole nother life through experiences. Your DNA, part of your soul, some of your blood. This is you have this in your seed, and that's why it's your life force. And even though this energy is subtle, it can be manifested to something greater into the world of creativity. This could be a painter's picture to paint, and that makes $1 million, or just becomes super famous in history, and then the future looks at it and as if it's biblical or something. You know, all these people, Nikola Tesla or Leonardo da Vinci, these people who, you know, in the past that you hear about, maybe astronomers, I don't know their daily life or anything, but they could have utilized this energy in different ways. I know Nikola Tesla, and maybe some other ones, they didn't focus on sex at all, or and you know, they manifest great things. I'm not saying that's the reason for it, but you got a reason, that's your seed, and it creates life. So this life can be planted in different ways of your life. Can be planted for creativiness and to manifest things in your life. What no one talks about. They talk about what they reap, but never what they do. And again, some males have too much femininity, but the thing is, equal it out, equilibrium and balance. And some people don't recognize this, and this is the whole point of the thing, is awareness and self-recognition, and how you're feeling, how's your energy going, what do you need, what needs to be done, because you have it all. A lot, but we're just not taught self-awareness and rectionality. And what I mean by that, as I was getting to, a female can be a tomboy, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm pretty sure usually they even recognize these features, and it's about bringing a balance. And it can happen on the other sex, males becoming too feminine. I don't know why I keep fumbling up these things, feminine, and they usually do recognize this, especially. But what they don't take into consideration maybe is the balance brought between the two, because even just a regular male with a lot of testosterone, they don't like acknowledging that the feminist side of them, because it's in them. And feminists, it's like the moon, and it's creativity, it's self-reflection in itself. And it's love, it's nature, and you know, but there needs to be a balance. And you can see how it's caring, and it's not to say or be objected to masculine can be you not be this stuff either, but masculine's kind of like hard work, maybe leadership, a lot of physical work. And these are just broad definitions that are loose. They don't hold any specific terms, but it's just to wrap your mind around it. Yeah, so that's it on my Nofap journey. I do have another video if you want to check that out. And like I said, I did mess up, but it's been, you know, plenty of weeks now, 2-3 weeks. And I have gone longer distances without even caring and stuff, not even thinking about it, recognizing it. But this is a documented experience, and just me to express myself about it. And yeah, and I'm pretty sure I'm like 2-3 weeks in now, and I plan to continue to do it. And now I've been learning a bunch of other things though amongst this, not even from this, just in a whole different zone, especially about energy. But I've been cultivating a lot of that, and I do think you know, I'm not gonna keep doing that. I'm gonna stick to the Nofap. Another thing is, you know, if you're super tired and exhausted, for the most part, you're not even gonna want to have sex. And you know, this is just gonna exhaust and incubate it to a point where you know you're not gonna want to do it anymore. Eventually it all comes around, comes to an end. And yeah, if you're feeling exhausted and tired, you shouldn't be doing it. But again, I'm not your dad. I'm just throwing some points out there and some views. So that's it. Let me know what you think of the video. Give your comment below. Feel free to. Yeah, that's pretty much it.